Welcome everybody to the Free
Yes.
Roam podcast. Welcome, we're here. I gotta ask you. I gotta ask you, Jor, right off the bat. Biggest news, kind of in our universe of the week, happened and dropped suddenly yesterday with a fierce, vociferous force, and that was the leaks surrounding AC Black Flag Remake and all the details there. Now, I saw your reactions initially on X, but if I break down individual things, maybe this is the best way to do it. If we just break it down like this, like key points, and then I get your impressions of it, we can kind of go back and forth. Number one, they said they're changing the combat system potentially to be more in line with the modern games. Maybe not quite to that full extent of like an AC Shadows Odyssey level loot system and stuff, but they said that they're changing it to be more in line with the modern games than the old system. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think I already watched a bit of what you said. I think we have to wait and see, of course, but I'm seeing this more as they're improving the combat that was already there, because I do think it would be kind of going backwards if we use that same combat again. Because even some of the things that Syndicate introduced are not going to be in this game. So it's going to be a lot of counters, of course, hitting a lot of enemies that are blocking and then hitting the same button at the right time. You also had some weapons already. They had like speed and combo. Like they already had some stats. Like all the Assassin's Creed games, of course, Unity introduced some more elements. They already had some RPG elements, obviously, from Syndicate to Origins was the biggest jump. But I think giving the game more depth, I think that's only gonna get better. That's only going to be better. I do hope they keep the cool finishers though. That would be it would suck if they lose those.
Well, and it seems like a lot of the design change for the combat specifically came from another choice that they made, which was and they're kind of in tandem, so it's probably, they just both naturally follow from each other, but they're also changing the loot system allegedly, meaning that instead of just like swapping out swords or swapping out pistols, they might have different like full cosmetic sets that you can change and swap between pretty consistently, similar to Shadows, or it might just be something closer to Mirage. We're not totally sure to what degree this reworking will work, but it just largely seems like a lot of the core mechanical stuff in Black Flag Remake is being reworked to be more in line with modern expectations, which I think is the more accurate way of describing it than what I said in my initial tweet, which was modern standards. If you bring up, it's so funny because like a lot of companies are like, we want to introduce an old game from 15 years ago or 10 years ago to modern audiences. And if you say modern audiences, people immediately lose their minds. So you have to rework and be like a new generation of gamers. And then everybody's fine. But if you say modern audience, people are immediately like, no, and they freak out. But I think that there is something to be said. Like there's a lot of people who will play this who never touched Black Flag back in the day. Like if you were
10 years old. It's crazy.
Yeah, if you were 5 years old, like let's say you were born 2008, you were 5 years old when Black Flag dropped.
Yeah.
Like now you're 17. By the time it comes out, you'll be 18 years old. Like you never touched this because you were 5 when it came out, but now you'll be able to experience it as a full-grown adult. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. But that's why they do need to find some way of introducing it to a new generation. And it's something I said in response to somebody. When you are nostalgic for something that's clunky or even like just bad by modern standards, like load screens, you may be nostalgic for load screens all over Fallout 3, for example. And so for you may be able to excuse those when you play a remake of that game because it brings you back to your childhood, seeing the little things rotate on screen. But for people who never played it, they don't have nostalgia for that. It's just bad or it's just clunky. And Ubisoft, I think to a certain extent with this stuff, they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't, because if they were to change the combat system as they seemingly are, people will be frustrated and complain that they're ruining it. And if they kept it the same, people would be complaining that it's lazy and that the old combat sucked. And so they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But
Yeah, for sure. But I do get some people, because I do get, if you did not like the newer RPG games with how grindy they were and how yeah, there were a lot of like repetitive activities just to get like what we really saw in, for example, with Odyssey and Origins was a lot of the random loot. So every time you went to do a camp, you got a green item, a blue item. I do think they should not go that far. But I do think, and I hope that they look at the system they had. And if you basically, for all the weapons that were already in the game, also, just like in Mirage, add a perk where it's like, okay, so next to the stat increases, you also have, if you counter this enemy or something, you get extra speed for 5 seconds. Boring perk, but just give every weapon a bit more flavor. I do think that would already go a long way. So yeah, if they're just doing that type of stuff, it makes sense. I'm already like my mind goes to, oh, then they can introduce Helix packs, and that's probably also what they're thinking, don't you think?
I think it's a major component of it. I mean, it's definitely
Yeah.
not. It's not it's not a insignificant component. Real quick, I'll have you discuss the next thing, which is removal of modern day sequences. My wife just called me twice in a row, so I'm going to make sure everything's okay. But go ahead, tell us about the modern day sequence removal.
Yeah, like we of course have to remember that I think Luke already, if you watched his sequence before, made some good points about how it kind of took you out of the experience. Of course, this was after AC3, so they were kind of toying around with this first person modern day. They're trying also something completely different right now with the Animus Hub. It's still, if you played Shadows, you know, you open the game and you see a sort of introduction, as basically the story is that in the modern day, people are buying basically VR headsets, which is the new Animus, and you put that on and then you get introduced, and then from there you can jump into different memories. And yeah, the Black Flag sequence will be added to that. That's kind of the story. So I think them removing the modern day, it would not make sense. They want to tell a different story, but I then still hope that they add some stuff from the newer modern day in there, because what we're really seeing right now with the Animus Up, it's a launcher, right? You see the memories, only Shadows is on, or all the from Origins upwards is on there, but I never use it. You never have the incentive to go back to these other games. Of course, we will have Mirage with like new content later in the year. So then, yeah, you will be able to, you boot up Shadows, then you will be able to scroll to Mirage and jump into that game. Of course, you have to install it, but it's just a launcher right now, and I really think that they have to kind of connect all these games. And yeah, hopefully there will be some modern day in Black Flag still, but that will be the new modern day that hopefully tells something new about where we're going in this new era. But I do think it makes sense for them to remove it in the remake for what it was. I'm not sure if you heard anything I said, but
I didn't. Sorry, my wife called because it's pouring rain outside, so she needed help getting the kids in from the car and the dog inside from the back.
okay.
I did not realize it was pouring rain. It's quite quiet.
No, man, you're in your
apparently.
man cave there.
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea. You think I go outside?
No, but really quick to recap, I'm not sure if you heard what I said, but basically, I think it would still be cool if they added new modern day things that make sense for the new era, because that is kind of what they're trying. Like, I think it would not have made sense to keep the modern day in from AC4 Black Flag, because like we're talking about here, new people come in, and then you have the Shadows modern day, even though it's very light, trying to tell a story. They want to do separate modern day, even playable sections in between games. So I think they should like try and connect that. So maybe still have a modern day in Black Flag Remake, but have the new flavor in there. I think that would be more interesting. I think it makes sense that they are removing it also for the things that you noted, that it really took you out of the experience. It was way more aggressive than we later saw.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I went back and I played the opening. I was like, I want to go back and play AC3 again after we talked about it on stream the other day. And bro, the opening of AC3 is like one of the slowest and most like tough to get through things. Like I appreciate it. I like Hatham a lot. Like, I like that stuff, but it is slow. And it feels like for a solid 4 or 5 years, Ubisoft's pacing was just out the window. Like, they just had no idea what they were doing. And the modern day sequences were a big part of that too.
Yeah, you started as Desmond, and you were just in the like in a sort of VR space, right, running around, and that was kind of the opening, and that's how that was the tutorial, basically.
Yeah, it's because they were rushed. AC3 was supposed to be way longer. Says yeah, I'm sure there's lots of reasons for it, but it was multiple games where pacing was an issue. But overall, I mean, I think they're trying the difference between this, and it's why remake is such a broad term that it almost means nothing nowadays. Because for some companies, remake literally just means take the old game and kind of like Oblivion Remastered, take the old game and preserve all of the bugs, preserve all of the glitches and the weird behaviors. And that was a weird case because people were literally hoping, they're like, I hope they don't fix the bucket on the head thing. Like, I hope they leave that in. Like, they're hoping that bugs remain, but that's just BGS games. And so some people expect that. They hope that it's exactly the same, but maybe with some like tiny quality of life things like UI or controls being improved. But then other companies, they approach a remake as taking this thing that lots of people know and love from 2013, but bringing it into 2026 in a way that makes it approachable for the new generation of gamers who will be less tolerant of the antiquated combat, which is really button mashy. It just is, like, and the inventory system, which was extremely basic. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Black Flag also had microtransactions back in the day as well. I think AC3 was the last one that didn't. I know Syndicate had them, and I think Unity did too. But
and they had a lot of like collabs, right, with sodas and stuff. I think that was already the case back then too. And they of course had the Ubisoft Connect or Club, I think it was called back then. Ubisoft Play, Ubisoft Club.
Yeah,
remember that with the units and stuff.
Gotta love those. So I mean, I think that they're just reworking it into a modern era, and I do think it's certainly accurate to say a component of this is that they can sell new. If you have a new inventory system that has outfits and then new hoods or hats or whatever, just like shadows, each one of those components that can be customized gives you an option to sell more cosmetics through the microtransactions or the projects system and the Animus Hub. Like, it gives them opportunities to monetize it further through a modern lens, because again, you and I may not be spending hundreds of dollars on skins in Assassin's Creed games, but there are people who do, and they kind of expect it, and so they're going to make the game for the whales in that regard as well.
The whales that
the real
takes on
whales.
another
Dude, that's what they need. They need paid whale skins in Black Flag for the whales. That's what we need. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these changes are going to be polarizing because, like I said, I think if they kept it the same, people would complain, and if they change it, people would complain. The ultimate way to get out of it is, like some people have brought up, preserve both and keep both combat systems in the game. Let it swap in the menus like Final Fantasy.
That would be easier said than done, but like with all the balance and stuff, I don't think.
Yeah, well, and it's how I described it to somebody. It's like it's not like going in terms of timing attacks where it's the same attacks in like Final Fantasy, and you're kind of going from real time where things are playing out constantly to like going to turn-based where you just kind of block things off into chunks. With this, literally all of the combat AI has to be redone because enemies behave differently when you're doing a paired animation combat system versus a hitbox based one, where you have to worry about distances and you have to worry about connections and reaches on different weapons. And so all of the, like, then also you have to consider the inventory system goes out, baby with the bathwater if you're getting rid of that and you have a system for the paired animation stuff, because all of those extra stats no longer really apply the same way when you swap the combat system. Like, we're not talking about going from turn-based to turn-based sort of with real-time elements or vice versa. You're going to two totally different things. And so I just don't think it's
I
that
think they can
doable.
combine it a bit. Like looking at a weapon speed, combo, and damage. I think that could still be the stats in this game. You swing your weapon around, it's faster. Yeah, you combo if you hit. Yeah, I think it could work. But I think Mirage makes a lot of sense because when people heard about the stats for that game, they were also like, I'm not so sure. And then yeah, you could almost ignore them if you wanted.
Yeah.
But they made sure that every time you got a new armor set, it was a bit more exciting than it's a new look for my character. So we will see. But I think with this we should not really we should just kind of wait and see until they finally reveal it. What did you think of the early March? Is what they said, right? I think that is the what they're aiming for. I would be shocked if they do it later because Ubisoft has said they want to launch a new paid Assassin's Creed every year, and every financial year that is. So every year basically, in the 12 months starting April of that year.
I think releasing in March makes kind of perfect sense. It mirrors Shadow's launch, of course, but it also is a pretty decent slot for them, at least based on the current release schedule. And it would allow them to come in at this fiscal year, which they want to do. Delaying it into the fall brings up so many questions. Like, what do you do with Hexe? Like, you're probably not launching them both in the same quarter. You worry about GTA 6 if that gets delayed also to the fall.
Probably.
Like, there's cascading considerations, and I think it's most likely that they just put all hands on deck to get it done by March. And that might mean that they pull some help from Quebec and they all get working on this to polish it up. That's kind of the whole point of the Anvil Next engine, is that anywhere in the world, any team can just pop into, like, it's weird, but like, to oversimplify it, it's kind of like a Google Doc is what they've built. So like anybody around the world can hop into that Google Doc and help it and work on little paragraphs and tweak stuff all in real time. So the whole project is updated. Compared to the previous versions where it's like a physical Microsoft Word document, that's saved locally somewhere. And so they should be able to scale it up and probably put more hands on it to get it done. But I think March makes a lot of sense. I got to ask you though, do you think that, like, at this point, based on the leaks and everything else, do you think that they try to shadow drop it, or do you think they do like a sorted advertising campaign for it?
I think the shadow drop might not be the best way, but they might do a stream and then launch it a week later or so. Like, I do think a short time makes sense. They first have the Prince of Persia remake, and that has also not been announced yet. I don't think you want to have them. Yeah, then you have two remakes at the. I think that they are aiming probably for that in January, just like the original remake. Remember that when that was shown? It was.
People are like
2021, 5 years, or they're going to launch this 5 years later. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but that is seemingly going through quite some improvements as well. But no, I think Game Awards would be the big stage, I think, for this. But I also don't know how much you want to hype this up. If that will help, I don't know. I think it's hard, but I can see them go both ways.
Yeah, like my suggestion has been shadow drop it, because you don't give people time to throw fits about it. With the leaks, as we're seeing now, you announce combat tweaks and changes. People complain about it. People are freaking out, spinning their wheels. And on the one hand, you should be happy that people are talking about it, because people are talking about it. It's hard to get people to talk about your game, period. So the fact they're talking about it and debating it is probably a good thing. But when you do a long marketing cycle, you're just giving people time to find things wrong with it. And with Ubisoft, they're currently like the whipping boy of the like culture warriors. They're the whipping boy of like the gaming is dying crowd and the cynics within the gaming community. And so no matter what they do, people will find ways to go after them for it. In many cases, it's justified. Other times it's not. But if they shadow drop it, it's just out there. People will just be like, oh my God, that looks cool. Pirate. Oh, I remember playing that when I was younger. Oh, cool. And they download it and they try it. Kind of like the Oblivion remake. If that had like 3 months of marketing behind it and previews and stuff when people are noticing performance issues and all this stuff, I don't think it would have performed anywhere near as well. So My recommendation is shadow drop it. But I know that much to their own detriment, they don't listen to everything I say. So I know that Ubisoft also tends to like doing more traditional old school marketing for their stuff and do big spend on things like that.
Yeah. I can see them still do like an event and then invite people and then have an embargo and then it launches like a week or two later. So maybe like maybe the window where it was for Silk Song that of course came out of nowhere. Yeah, we're launching 2 weeks later. Maybe they do still. I think maybe going full shadow drop is a bit too scary for them. I do think it might be the best approach because we saw that with Oblivion. That stream went crazy and I think way more people jumped into it because it was the hype at the moment.
Yeah,
and
dude.
You could immediately buy it.
I had 18,000 people watching me try
crazy.
it for the first time. Like, it was ridiculous. But it's because people were like, I got to check this out. I want to see it. And we know it sold really well. But I totally get what you're saying. It's scary to just shadow drop something, especially when that's not how they tend to do things. Like, they're not dropping something onto Game Pass where even if it's like kind of bleh in terms of engagement, it still is more content on the service. Like, for them, they need this to move units. And so I totally get that it's stressful. But maybe you're right. Maybe they do like an event. Like, I think they said there was something for Skull and Bones. I was talking to somebody at Ubisoft. They did like a Skull and Bones promotion in Singapore, and they actually went and got a pirate ship or something. Did you go to that, or did you hear about this? I think they actually rented like a pirate ship that you could go and like they did dinner cruises on, and they did a whole thing. Or maybe that deal fell through, but they were working on it. There was something like that. So maybe they do some big event like that to try and promote it like a couple weeks before. That would be more typical.
Yeah, because I do think it might be good to have people, because that does seem to be kind of Ubisoft's mentor right now. When they tell us stuff, people are already like, I'm not so sure. So if they do only a stream where it's like, I don't know, the game director of this remake saying, yeah, we did this and this and this, people will be like, yeah, sure. And then no one has a review up, or like, I do think that we can give extra details and maybe our take, and then people are more inclined to accept it or believe it. So I do think there's like a middle way they will probably go for, but I would not mind if they keep it quiet and then early March there's an event, mid March is the embargo, week later it comes out, something like that.
I could totally see that. Either way, I mean, I think the fact that people are willing to talk about it and are so interested, even back in early July, I was on vacation on a lake and I filmed a video while out on the lake on a pontoon talking about like the rumors and stuff about the Black Flag remake. And that video did quite well. And it shows that like even in a dry spell of information, people are interested in this and are wanting to talk about it and engage with it. And now we got some actual news and tons of videos are popping up and popping off about it. Like, people want to know about it. People are interested. They're going to bring into question the combat, the changes that they're making and stuff. But I think even the people who are like old school fans that really liked the older combat system, I still think a very large number of those people will buy it and try it for themselves. Barring any sort of major reveal or something. But I think that they have something that people really, really want, which amazingly enough, they haven't really had for a while. And
all that was the last time.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can handle it. And there's going to be skepticism and cynicism around it for sure. But if they just focus on getting the game polished and ready to go and it speaks for itself, that'll go a long way. And hearing that they're making... Oh, go ahead.
But I'm like what you said, like delaying this game till the end of next year will cost so many things. So I think they're, like you said, all hands on deck to get it out for multiple. They also don't have a lot of other games. They have Anno and Prince of Persia. So it would be a really, really bad look for their financial year. We should not care about that, but it does show you that they have to get it out. And yeah, we will see if that, hopefully that means like a quality product. But I think March is going to be when we see it.
Yeah. I think so too. That's my my vibe. Because again, remember, guys, the original rumors and speculation was that it was coming at the end of this year, and then after Shadows, it was delayed out into early next year. And I think Tom Henderson was the first to report on it slipping into next year. So it's already gotten delayed, and they're giving it more time and resources. It's not like they're just, frantically throwing this together. It's already been delayed internally, and so I think they'll get it there. But yeah, I'm just excited.
2 months later, they announce XA. Like we will, from the start of Black Flag, go into this overdrive, because then Shadows will still get an update. We hear about that Invictus game, whatever that is, like their multiplayer thing they want to do. They still have a free-to-play mobile game, and yeah, you could be like, okay, free-to-play mobile. Look at Destiny Rising right now. I think that's a very interesting case of where people who usually only play console PC games are looking at, whoa, what is this mobile game doing? Even if you don't like it, it still has very interesting ideas that are probably going to be used in the proper Destiny.
People are joking that the mobile game has more effort put into it than Destiny does.
No, it has like a lot of features that people wanted for such a long time, but in a mobile setting, it's way more an MMO. So maybe Jade has some cool things that were also like, I mean, they, just like Bungie, are giving the keys for the first time to a different team to make an Assassin's Creed game. So yeah, it could be interesting, but next year will be wild, but GTA is going to be October, so like I really don't think it's going to be May.
We'll see. I don't. The reason why I'm so skeptical of it getting pushed back is, for one, because they gave it a date, and I think their earnings call or something is on Friday, I want to say. I think something was happening on the 19th where they're expected to talk about it, and a lot of people think it'll be the last moment for them to delay it if they were going to.
No, it won't be the last moment. That will be like, they have another one in February, I think, so that will be the last moment. And remember, like, it's in their next financial year. It's not in this financial year. So even if they delay it from May till October, for their financial year, it doesn't matter at all. GTA Online, are they really going to launch that at the end of June? That makes no sense to me, unless they're really gonna ship that at the end of the year, like have a huge time.
Like do a full 5-6 month, and then they're gonna do
that.
Like
would
a
be
huge
crazy too.
launch.
But again, like, you don't want to launch that during the weakest time to launch any game. Like August, September, what we're seeing now is so crazy because people are skipping July and end of June and early August. That's like a dead period. So is Rockstar going to launch GTA Online then?
But do you think that, I've wondered this, do you think the June, July dead zone is kind of like February as of 5 years ago, where everybody's like, that's when games go to die. But then some big games go there and they do phenomenally well. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe the old mantra is no longer true, whether it's digital distribution changing it or whatever. Like, I wonder if a massive game launched in July, would it perform well? Or like, is it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Nothing launches in July, so nothing launches in July, and therefore nothing performs well in July because nothing launches there, because nobody launches there.
I think it depends a bit. Like, for example, Nintendo, it makes sense because that's a handheld you can take with you on your holiday. So that's for them why, like, all their handhelds were usually in the summer and doing well then. So Switch 2 then makes sense. But if you look at July, we only had Wu-Chang, and I don't really know other games. But February makes sense because, of course, January, like, that's why we see if you launch in January at the end of the month, because that is when people finally get their salary again after the Christmas period where they are broke. So then in February is the first time they can actually buy, and it is the final quarter before the end of most of the financial years. So if you still want to launch in your current financial year, February, March is the place to go. So I still think we are really seeing that, and I'm not sure if you saw the Hell Is Us director kind of throwing fits, like being not happy with Silksong, because they had the September 5th kind of for themselves with Chronos the New Dawn, but that's quite a different game. And then Silksong at the Gamescom is like 2 weeks before. Yo, one of the biggest launches of the year. It's going to happen on the same day, man. Good luck. So, and like, sure, you could argue maybe those games are also not really similar, but it's still people that are like into interesting new concepts and want to try the new indie game like Hell Is Us. Bigger publisher, still smaller studio, of course, but yeah, it hurt them. And he was like, there's no good time to launch a game anymore. And I do believe that, but I do think July is what we are usually seeing, the least favorable time.
Yeah.
But maybe GTA Online, everyone will stay home. Nobody will go on a holiday.
Yeah, you never know. For GTA 6 online, you never know. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating, but I think you are right. This is the thing to remember, because I saw somebody in chat was like, players like remakes and remasters, but ultimately they still want like new games. That's the thing. Like Ubisoft will have potentially Black Flag Remake in March. They announce the announcement of Hexe in like May, and then they do Ubisoft Forward in June. They're going to have probably Tom Clancy stuff. They might even have a Far Cry trailer, maybe.
They have Splinter Cell Remake. Ghost Recon will probably be announced in May or April, like as the first big game. I think they will. It seems that is the furthest along from their other big AAA games. Yeah, Far Cry 7. They have a extraction shooter, Splinter Cell Remake, Hexe. You name it. Like, I think Assassin's Creed Shadows probably gonna get more content. Like, they have, like, the amount of I went to a studio tour in Bordeaux for the DLC for Shadows. They're doing something for that already. I don't think they have time for that next year. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah, they're gonna go into overdrive because they're gonna have a lot. It's gonna be
so GTA in October is gonna, because you want to have. I think Hexe is the horror game, like the Halloween game. If you could choose, right, that would be the perfect time to release that.
Sounds like it. At least from what we've heard, I've not seen anything. Have you?
Hexe?
Yeah. Have you seen any Hexe?
No, I wish, but I can say that I think Hexe is gonna be very polarizing overall, because I do think people are putting some unrealistic expectations into that game, where I think a lot of people, and rightfully so, are not happy with the kind of RPG direction that we have. Like, what we basically had is we had one type of Assassin's Creed game, and then with Origins, we only had one type of Assassin's Creed game. If you didn't like Origins, the Assassin's Creed games after that, apart from Mirage maybe, you also would not really vibe with. So for a real long time, maybe the series did not speak to you. And then you hear, with Hexe, we're gonna go in a different direction. We bring in Darby, you know him from like the biggest Assassin's Creed writer on lore and stuff. It's gonna be great. And I think it's gonna be like a cinematic trailer where she turns into a cat and does magic stuff, and we're like, what the heck? Is this even Assassin's Creed anymore? So yeah, it's gonna be fascinating.
I'm hoping that they can market it as kind of similarly to how Sony has managed to market their third-person cinematic adventure games, just based on what I have heard about Hexe and what it's expected to be. But yeah, it's going to play very, very differently. And who knows, maybe in 5 years we'll hear people being like, why can't they go back to the RPG stuff? And to be clear, like, their goal is to do a lot of different little things. So instead of having Valhalla that does everything in one package, they're going to have 5 different packages. One that's the RPG, one that's like more old school, like Mirage, one that's more linear narrative, like Hexe, and probably some multiplayer games tossed in there. That's the goal. And I personally prefer that. If you're going to do something, do it well instead of doing 5 different things. Okay. I prefer this way. And then I don't have to spend money on the game that doesn't speak to me, So I think it makes sense. But there will initially be some growing pains for sure of people being like, even though they've been pretty clear about this, they'll see Hexe and be like, what happened to the open world adventure stuff? What happened to the RPG? They're not doing that anymore, even though they still are. So
I'm not sure if people will say that, because we will probably still get content for Shadows, but I do think the promise of having the different types of Assassin's Creed games, live alongside each other and release. So you can skip a year, but okay, next year will be the game that I actually like. My take is mostly that I worry that people are putting a lot of eggs in the Hexe basket to fix what they were missing in the with the RPG branch. But I'm not sure if, I think they might go in a completely different direction. That they're trying maybe to speak to a completely different audience instead of the hardcore Assassin's Creed
knows?
fans.
Maybe it plays more like Resident Evil, and it's like,
really
slow and really like horror inspired, like that. based on what they've described, is not out of the realm of possibility that it plays very similarly to that. Like, you just never know. What?
Yeah, it seems to be kind of like that. They I think what we heard is also like kind of God of War-y, maybe the Tomb Raider reboot style, and then with some Dishonored type powers into the mix for cool stealth ways. I mean, that could be why Assassin's Creed Shadows is so grounded. They are like, okay, we cannot do any of the magical stuff right now. Yeah, and also to not have people be already kind of bored with that stuff when Hexe gets announced, right?
It's not a bad idea. I mean, I hadn't really considered that, but if you're trying to differentiate your different games within a franchise, you want them really differentiated. And from what we've heard just through leaks, Hexe is going to be very supernatural. There's going to be a lot of supernatural stuff in it, even just down to player abilities. Yeah. And so it makes sense if they were like, we don't want to do supernatural stuff, just to make it clear that these are different branches of the same tree.
I think that sucks though, because not having Isu or any mythical stuff in one of the RPG games feels like such a missed opportunity. Also, we're in Japan, like you want the Japanese mythology, but
they also didn't have a lot of stuff, like no Templar stuff really. Like there was mentions. I mean, near the
end, and now a guy in the DLC has a necklace, and that's kind of as far as they go.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. Where's the Templar storyline? No, he has a necklace.
Yeah, look at the necklace. It's shiny. It's red.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little bit if you have a little bit more time.
Yeah, I do. Want to talk state of play, or what were you thinking?
I wanted to know your thoughts on the Marvel Wolverine MP First stuff.
Oh yeah.
So for those of you out there who may not have seen the stream segments or the discussions of this, basically there was a report that came out from MP First discussing Wolverine, the current plans surrounding the Venom project, which apparently still exists, and some other interesting little tidbits. But this follows, of course, the massive data breach that they had a couple of years back, where everything leaked. And since then, they've been very, very quiet, sorting through all of that, figuring out what they want to do. But what they said is, someone familiar with the situation has confirmed to us that Wolverine will stick to the 2026 scheduled release seen in the leaks, and that Venom project remains in development. Additionally, we have also managed to gather some extra details about Venom based on information we've come across. And these are individual details surrounding the framing of like the story and things that I'm not going to get into for sake of spoilers. But ultimately, it seems like it was originally planned to release at the end of this year, but the most recent data from the leaks placed it in 2027. We now assume that this date depends on whether the project has undergone significant changes in scale, considering that what was leaked was comparable in size to the Miles Morales game. So it seems as though Wolverine next year, Venom game that's smaller, closer to Miles Morales, is probably 2027, which puts it
launch of the PS5 of PS6.
Yep, right in time, just like Miles Morales. So they can do the side by side and be like, look how shiny Venom is in this shot, and how extra shiny he is in this one.
I think if Miles Morales was only on PS4, it would have really felt like a 1.5. Obviously it was that, but because they could also, but look at the load times and blah blah, it did kind of feel more like a new experience. So maybe they're doing that again. What is interesting is that there was actually, you mentioned the data breach, of course. There was actually one slide where they had Venom already in 2027. So what of course happened is that a lot of the data released online, like people were piecing it together, but we did not know the timeline for when these things were kind of being shared. So it seemed like they already at one point were planning Venom in 2027, while first the ambitious plan was to have it at the end of this year, and then Wolverine next year, and then Spider-Man 3 in 2028. That would have been crazy.
Yeah,
but
now it's all getting booped back into like the early 2030s, and they also are planning a bunch of X-Men stuff, and we saw breakdowns of the marketing deals and budgets for those games. Each one is expected to be like 150 million. It's crazy. So
yeah, where do you? I have multiple thoughts, but where do you wanna go?
I mean, I think for one, it's good to see that they're getting seemingly back into the groove of things. They're starting to hit a pretty solid cadence for releases. I am hesitant to get too excited for Wolverine, just because I thought Spider-Man 2 was pretty lacking, not in terms of execution of gameplay and stuff, but just in some of the broader directorial choices. Whether it be the obsession with MJ's missions that were utterly lackluster, some of the writing stuff, which I said this the other day, I stand by it. If Spider-Man 2 had launched a solid year and a half later, in the heart of like the cringe revolt, because all these games were launching with super cringy writing and getting basically ruined over it, I think Spider-Man 2 would have suffered the same fate. I think it would have been disastrous because some of the writing in Spider-Man 2, oh my God. Like, it's unbelievable. But somehow they managed.
You mentioned the MJ missions, but that whole Venom arc, I could not. I rarely have that where I was cringing so hard, and I really was attached to these characters, especially after Spider-Man 1. I was like, I'm so into this Insomniac universe, and that whole like final part of the game, yeah, it really rubbed me the wrong way. I did not like that at all.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's the thing, is like those same guys are the ones making these games, and I'm sure, like, hopefully they're aware of some of the critiques and criticism, but I don't think they got anywhere near enough flack for how abysmal the writing was at the time, and somehow they managed to dodge it. But I really do believe if it had launched a solid year and a half later, it would have been a probably different story. They got very lucky on that. But if they come out with Wolverine and like half of the game is playing as Wolverine's stepdaughter who has a podcast and she's vlogging on TikTok all of their escapades, I'm gonna scream. Like I will make so many videos, and I'll probably end up making more money on the game than they will.
Like, oh my God, that would be crazy. No, I hope not. I think it's interesting also looking at the whole situation with Wolverine, that they're basically still on track for 2026, because in the leaks it was always noted to be a 2026 game, but then of course a year after the data breach at the end of 2024, we heard that Brian Horton, the game director, left. He was like, I got this amazing new job. I'm going to finish this next game. He went to the initiative to work on Perfect Dark. Which is still crazy to me. I don't know how. But I want to hear that story one day where there must have happened. So you don't leave Wolverine. He was the director on Miles Morales before this, and then worked on Wolverine. I do think they have kind of like, they're two Marvel teams at this moment. So the Miles team, and of course there's some overlap, but yeah, you would think that most of those people are on Wolverine. So we will have to wait and see.
Just be clear so I understand what you're saying. So the game director that was directing Wolverine,
yes,
left. When did you say he left?
October 2024.
He left October of last year because he was really excited at this amazing opportunity, which was Perfect Dark, which is dead now.
He joined the initiative to become the creative director on Perfect Dark after being the creative director on Wolverine.
So what? That makes me think either Perfect Dark looked extra amazing, which I'm not convinced of, or it makes me think that he wanted to get out of Wolverine.
Yeah, maybe there were creative differences. He wanted to do that Stepdaughters podcast, and they were like, "No, dude."
It's like, if I don't get this podcast, I'm out.
They might be like that. I don't know, but that is interesting, right? I'm like LinkedIn stalking him to see where he's now, but or he did not get the memo yet, but he still is the creative director at the initiative on Perfect Dark. So maybe he goes into work every day. He's like, where is everyone? But I will just keep going. I don't know, but it's interesting.
That's crazy.
Why he left. But then the Ratchet and Clank directors, like veterans at Insomniac, they took over Wolverine. So you would think that has caused some like delays and stuff, but them still aiming for 2026. I mean, I would not be surprised if like this is probably the longest an Insomniac game has been in development, because they are usually pretty fast. But yeah, 2021 is when they announced it, and then it will launch 5 years later. Spider-Man 2 was maybe, I mean, Spider-Man 1 was 2018, and then Spider-Man 2 was 2023. But of course, they had some overlap with Miles. So yeah, I think that this might be the longest they have something cooking over there. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. We should get a trailer maybe next week during the State of Play. Maybe by the time you listen to this, if you listen to it later, the State of Play has already been announced. But that is the rumor.
That would make sense. I just hope, beyond hope, like this is going to be a pretty big tone shift, and it's probably at a good time, because like up until now, at least I feel like Insomniac, they're pretty good at making those like T for teen superhero games, you know, like they're not particularly gory or intense. Like when is it Craven in Spider-Man 2 when he gets killed by Venom, like they don't show anything super gory, they'll cut away from it, stuff like that. I feel like with Wolverine, you have to pivot and you have to be full intensity, full gore. And before doing a standalone Venom game, I think that probably makes sense to just lean into it fully and just go crazy rated M with it across the board. So I hope that they actually fully lean into it, and it's not like a T for teen version of Wolverine, because I'm not so sure that
I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna go full bloody and stuff. I mean, the leaks. I looked at some of them. It looked awesome for where it was in development. So we will have to wait and see. But I mean, they have to be. It has to be different than Spider-Man as well. And yeah, it would be cool if they then also for Venom are like, okay, this worked for Wolverine. We're gonna go all in with that game too.
Yeah, imagine if they just go like also full Naughty Dog, Last of Us Part 2 levels of insanity, but superheroes. I'd be down for that.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that people would like that. Maybe for Spider-Man, yeah, that's like a bigger audience, obviously. But the movie did it too, the Wolverine movie. So we could see it. But I think overall, them having Venom next year or in 2027 instead of this year already, they have to take some extra time after Spider-Man 2 to kind of see, okay, what went wrong? How can we, kind of come back stronger? And another thing for me, what I did not like about Spider-Man 2 was that it had a lot of cliffhangers. It had a lot of what felt like half missions, where you would reach a sort of pivotal moment with Carnage being introduced, and then, by the way, we need another year to do research, and we'll get back to you. And then I'm like, what?
Right in time for the DLC launch, we'll be ready to talk again.
And I was like, okay, I said it in the review as well. Okay, so we now have to wait 5 years for this story to conclude. And that might be true, or 4 years. And that is crazy. Like, don't do that in this day and age. Like, maybe during the PS3 generation, where you were launching a sequel every 2 years, sure. But now you cannot do that anymore. Yeah. So, we will see. But I do think it's exciting. I mean, Insomniac carried the PlayStation 5 kind of at the start of the generation. It seems like they go out with a bang as well. So... yeah,
and they are capable. That's the thing, is like Spider-Man 2, I thought the writing was the weakest component, both in the questing like George just described, but also just in terms of some of the broader strokes and stuff they were doing. I was just like, what are we doing? But in terms of execution on a technical level especially, they are top notch. Like they're typically very, very good. Spider-Man 2 of course had some bugs, the famous white cube bug. But that was like the first time in a long time that they had ever had any issues. And so hopefully that doesn't continue, but they tend to be very, very good at like actually putting the thing together.
No, I think if we are sitting here in the next show and we have seen the trailer, if they really show during the State of Play, it will. So the rumor was before this multiplayer first rumor that Insider Gaming said that the trailer was finished. So they thought it's going to be at the State of Play or the Game Awards. But we will see it soon. And I do think, looking at that, we will probably be happy with what we saw. That's my prediction. I have hope.
I think it'll be just like Spider-Man 2. I think it's going to show really, really well. So I also expect we'll be here talking about it and saying how impressive it was. But just like Spider-Man 2, my concern is not really in the presentation, beyond the obvious point, it's got to be gory. If it's not gory, we're not doing a Wolverine game. But beyond that, I think my only primary focus will be like the writing and stuff, because it was so bad in their last game that it makes me worried that they can pull a 180 on this one. But we'll see.
Yeah, but maybe they are looking for some creators to do a podcast in the game.
Oh, can you imagine, dude? That would be funny. I'd be down for that.
Me too.
I'd be so down for that. That would be freaking funny as hell. We can dream. That would be funny. Anyway, so let's see. Do you have a couple extra minutes? Is there anything else you wanted to run through? I know we kind of started
do
late.
we have some super chats? I think we maybe saw
yes,
them,
probably.
or did we already cover them?
Let me check. Okay. So these kind of go back to our AC discussion, so we can kind of wrap up with this. So I'll go back to this one. Steel Bones with 5. My cope-filled hope is that they add at least a toggle for a more close to classic combat system. I want the new content. I just really don't enjoy the RPG combat that I've tried. A toggle would be cool. And of course, in an ideal world, I would love that. And I would love, like, was it Master Chief Collection or something? There was one of the Halo ones where there was literally a toggle to go between the new graphics and the old graphics. That's like bucket list. Yeah, like that's dream scenario is something like that. But I don't think it's realistic.
For Black Flag though.
I
don't think it's like nostalgia. I
it's
looked at some
gimmick.
videos and it just Yeah,
I mean, it's a gimmick. I think it makes you appreciate the new graphics even more. But I think bringing this up, my point is that those things are cool. I'd be really happy if I have like a bucket list and I'm a genie and I can just like wish these things into existence. I would like those things, but the lack of those things is far from like disqualifying. If I see that they don't have the toggle for the new versus old, I'm not going to be upset. Like, yeah, it would have been cool. But
I think for the combat that would be awesome, because that I think would be. Then I think people would also be more willing to try the new stuff because they know I can always go back and not feel forced one way or the other. So no, but for the graphics, I think like for Halo, it's just very nostalgic. Oh my god, because that game is way older. But this game is, it looks like a less people on the streets, less stuff going on, etc. And then you switch. I really think people will turn that on for 1 second and then be like, okay, this doesn't look great. I'm going back to the modern graphics. And then all the Ubisoft engineers have worked their ass off to make that work. So I'm not sure if that is worth it.
Yeah.
But a toggle for combat, I think would be cool. But we should wait and see. I do think adding more depth to the items you can collect, maybe it makes like, going to the different islands and stuff more rewarding if you can actually find way more loot and stuff. Yeah. I would be down for that, actually.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot more transformative than a lot of us thought, but I also think we should keep open minds because,
again...
again...
call it remake or remaster?
I think probably remake, just based on what I've heard. I think in terms of marketing, maybe remaster is a safer bet.
Yeah.
But I think once you start changing gameplay stuff, I think... to me, in my brain, you have to call it a remake if you're changing gameplay stuff. But for one, we don't know if these leaks are true. So there's that. It could be that it's just the old system and this is all us talking about nonsense. So we don't know if they're true. And two, the leaks are even suggesting that they aren't sure the specifics of it. So it could be that it's technically a hitbox system, but it plays heavily into finishers. So it plays very similarly to the old system. So like we don't know. We don't know yet.
I mean, that's more Mirage style where, it was still also kind of based because you could only take a few hits. So you would still also be countering a lot. They have to keep the finishers because I do think that is what we are missing. Seeing all those, like even for Assassin's Creed 3 and all the other games, the amount of finishers and how cool they look. It's sad that we kind of lost that. Obviously, some of the finishers are nice, but these newer games are, for one, way longer, so you see the same animations way more often, and they're also just a few of them, because they now have multiple weapon types, so they only for the sword have 2 animations. So if you only use the sword, you only see the same 2. And of course with the other Assassin's Creed games, yeah, they had the sword, they had maybe the gun, and that was kind of your loadout. So yeah, they could do way more with that, but they have to keep those at least.
Yeah, I think that's such a key visual flair to the old school, specifically Black Flag, that you kind of need it. So I agree. This one from Luke with 5. I did love chaining finishers in the old combat system. TBH, that was my favorite part of the combat. Yeah, I think
they could still do that, but just not be very, because what the thing is with the older combat is that you're really locked onto one target, and you can only hit the character that you're locked onto. And what they changed with Origins is that when you swing your weapon, and there happens to be a character running in from the back, they can get hit by the sword as well. So actually adding that, I think, could be cool, but then still having your counter-based system. So basically a parry that goes into a finisher, I think could still work.
I think so too. You kind of meld them. Codex Seeker with a 2. There also is AC Mirage DLC news today. Eye emojis. Do you know anything about those?
I think Jonathan, the French YouTuber, posted some stuff.
Oh, interesting. I have not seen it, so I can't really speak on it, because I think it popped up like 3 hours into the stream, so I wasn't able to dig into it. Let's see. And then Steel Bones, thank you for the very generous 10. I get that argument, but what sucks for me is having to deal with the new combat for potentially new/cut content for Black Flag, which was or is the potential hang up I have with this remake. So your frustration is dealing with the new combat for new and cut content.
Basically there would be then no way to play that new cut content the old school way if you wanted that.
Yeah. And I can understand that frustration, but I think the discussion of them adding back in cut content, I don't know if that's just like, if they mean they have the level design, they have everything, but they cut it towards the end of development, and so they're just bringing that in, or if they mean like, no, we were originally going to have a quest where you did this, and so we built that for this game. Like, I don't know if it's just an idea that they're turning into the full cut content experience, or if it's like whole levels and stuff that they're bringing in that they designed for the old combat that now you're not going to get to experience that way. I'm not sure. Because again, we don't know if this is even accurate, but yeah, that's a fair question. That's a fair thing to bring up.
Yeah, for sure. I think we just have to kind of wait and see what they do with it. I do think it seems that from some of the things that I've been reading as well, that it will still be closer to the older stuff than completely being Origins or Valhalla. But yeah, they're just making it for a modern audience now.
Mm-hmm. Modern audience.
Yeah,
it's about time. Yeah, they need a podcast in the game.
Oh yeah.
Luke, thank you for the 2 as well to wrap us up. The modern day was connected to the story, though. It was. I think, though, doing a remake like this, it's not like we don't know those story beats or the narrative lore things that were brought up in the original. And I think that for sake of the remake, like seriously, in my humble opinion, the modern day stuff just massacres the pacing so bad that you'd get a lot of people dropping the game, and they just don't want to do that. And they've done polls. Like, I've gotten, they send out those emails, and it's like customer service surveys where they ask you, how likely are you to play an Assassin's Creed game every week? What would you need to do to motivate you to investigate or invest in Helix packs? Like, they ask you all those questions. And I've seen questions specifically bringing up like the modern day storylines as it pertains to Assassin's Creed. There was one survey like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember, that was specifically asking about like the Abstergo storylines. And I guess at that point it would have been Layla. And it was like, what do you think of that? And as we know now with Shadows, like they've pretty much completely walked away from the modern day stuff because people didn't really like it. And so it's not a surprise to me, and I don't think it's personally that.
Yeah, I think it's mostly for the people that are just not really in tune and that just buy a few games maybe per generation, and Assassin's Creed happens to be one of them, and then they are all the advertisement that they see, which all the mainstream advertisement is only, yo, you're gonna be a pirate, and then you're forced to run around this office. Like it's different. So I think it makes the Assassin's Creed game special, but I think there's a reason why they stepped away from it. And I think it also right now just doesn't really make sense with. Otherwise, you have multiple modern day threats at the same time. So I hope they do more with the Animus Hub in this remake as well, because right now it's a promise for like we've not seen anything. I'm really disappointed with what they kind of said.
Yeah, remember
make all the games feel connected, and
it's so crazy to me that the Animus Hub stuff, we talked about it for like a year, 2 years, because there were all these rumors about built-in battle passes and exclusive content.
I mean, they are in the game.
Now they kind of are, yeah. But there was all this discussion over what that was going to be, and it was part of the like huge broad vision of what they wanted to do with the franchise. And it's just kind of turned into a weird tab in the menu that you can check every once in a while. It's so weird.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Anyway, all of this to say, I think we are in for a treat next week if that, if they end up revealing Wolverine. That could be really, really cool. Teasers on Hexe. I don't think we get Sarcasm until probably May of next year, leading into the Ubisoft Forward. They tend to do a reveal announcing
like a
the announcement.
Cinematic reveal or something like that.
Yeah.
But maybe they do stuff different. Like it will be very interesting. Remember that Shadows was the first game without the whole season pass and gold edition, ultimate edition thing. So maybe another thing they are learning is, we're gonna just wait until we have gameplay or be closer to launch. So maybe how they've always done it will not be the same how they do it. So
we also know that the marketing
on is first.
I was just gonna say we also know that Star Wars Outlaws was a point of learning for them too, because that was their most expensive marketing campaign in their company history, and let's just say it didn't result in the most valuable product at the end of the day. So I think that they probably are also doing significant reviews of what they need to do for marketing.
Yeah, and we saw that with like being able to stream Assassin's Creed Shadows before launch. Like that is something they've never done before, but it does show some confidence, and that's kind of what they have to do right now. They have to I mean, also another thing, Shadows only right now has gone on sale, and it's still only 30%. I think like before this, it would have already been 50% off everywhere. So they're trying different things.
They're learning that you can't just put your game 70% off 2 weeks later and then be like, why is no one buying it at full price? Because people know you're going to put it on sale. God damn it. Anyway, do you have any closing thoughts before we adjourn?
No, I see some people like talk about some other release. Of course, Dying Light the Beast is tomorrow at the time of this recording. Silent Hill F is getting some great early reviews from the DualShockers guy. Did you see that? Oh, dude.
I guess just in case somehow somebody missed it, what happened? I'll just read this for you guys. I retweeted it. I was just like, that's not how embargoes work. Because what this guy did, I'll go full screen on it. American Truck Songs 9 took a screen cap of it, but this guy went onto Reddit and posted, as a preface, I write for DualShockers and I'm doing a review of Silent Hill F. Because of it, I was able to get the game early and I beat it over the weekend. And then he broke down that he's giving it a 9.5 out of 10, that he loves it for all these reasons. And he basically just outlines his entire review. And somebody on Reddit replies to him and says, isn't there an embargo? How can you talk so openly about it? And he replied, the embargo just gives me a deadline and prevents me from talking spoilers. Everything I'm talking about are things that will be in the review. Stuff I'm allowed to say. So he's admitting it's stuff in the review. It's basically the review. And you're just going to share it on Reddit for clout, I guess? Like, what is the deal with this guy? But this is what happens. People forget, but these outlets will hire somebody who has like a journalism degree or something that maybe has a passing interest in video games. I've met these people at events, and a lot of them are not like one of the girls I talked to, she's like, I'm not a gamer. And she felt like really insecure being there. She's like, I don't know why I'm here. I just wanted to get into reporting and journalism, but I got hired by this gaming outlet because they were hiring for a young woman. And they sent me here, and I don't even know how to like hold a controller and play the games. Like, she doesn't play games, but she was sent to do this because she worked for them. And sometimes you end up with people like that, or in this case, somebody who doesn't know what the word embargo means. And so he clarifies, somebody said, I was just making sure you're not getting into trouble. And he says, I appreciate it. Thank you. Don't worry. I reread my email 1,000,000 times just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Lol. Like, so he had a suspicion he wasn't allowed to do this. He did it anyways. Again, for some easy attention on Reddit. Like, what are you doing? But he literally, there's no way he still has a job after this. Like, surely
No,
not.
I think DualShock, like Konami, is probably not happy, and they're not gonna send them anything anymore. But I saw them like post or look for writers as well. Maybe like volunteer, because like some of these websites, it's really hard to have like staff and do all the reviews. But yeah, some people are willing to do it volunteer to get some experience and get the game early, and that's exciting. So I would not be surprised if it's just one of those people that is very new to all this and probably got an email saying, yo, the deadline for the review is this and this, and you cannot talk about this and this. But he never saw like, and you're not allowed to talk about it to anyone.
A lot of it's probably like the email says the embargo for this review is on this date at this time. And that's when the deadline date is. And so he read that as, so I can talk about it, just no spoilers.
Yeah, but I cannot post my review on DualShockers until that time.
But Reddit is fair.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's so bad. So bad. Yeah, that was pretty goated. He did follow it up, and he did post it or delete it, and he also deleted his account as well. As if that will fix things, but
I mean, at least it was a 9.5. If it was like a 6 or a 5, Konami would have been way more angry because they,
it's not the worst press that a really good early review, but I wouldn't look into this guy's review too confidently, because like clearly he's not. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
I remember
he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, you know. Like,
I remember my first review. It was like 2011, or it was Disney Universe, like a really old, it's like a very old game, PS3. And I thought, oh, this game is like a 9 because there are no bugs. It's like I was only looking at, the factual things that the game did not do wrong. So there were no bugs and it ran fine. So it's a 9 instead of, but what are the... So that was my first review. So maybe this also, again, I agree. Don't look too much into it.
Yeah. The game looks good, but I would not say the game, like, I would not pre-order it based on this dude's review.
I know, exactly.
But anyway,
it would be awesome though if it's like really, really good, because when I look at that combat, I'm like, oof, but I hope it's good. I hope it's good.
Yeah. Whew, we'll see. I'll wait for ACG's review. Yeah, ACG does great stuff. He does great stuff. Maybe get a second opinion. Didn't you see he reread the thing multiple times, the email multiple times, or he said 1,000,000 times?
I would be funny to see if he still posted on DualShockers at the embargo, though.
Dude, that would be so funny.
And that would be, and then it's like the exact same post, but some things rewritten.
Yeah, but he just, as he says, put in some spoilers. He's like, and then the ending is this. He just literally has no idea what a review is.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah.
Wonderful time chatting with you, my friend, as always. Sorry for the late start. Shocker, I started rambling about Mind's Eye and lost track of time. But we had a wonderful show nonetheless. Thank you to everybody for hanging out with us and helping make this show great with your super chats and chats and thoughts.
And of course, give us those 5 stars on your platform of choice where you get the show. That would be nice.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Next week, it sounds like we may have a lot to talk about. So,
stay the plug.
State of play with potentially some big reveals. So we will see you guys
But
then.
probably not. Let's temper our expectations.
Maybe not.
It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck. We're getting that Yakuza game that got leaked already. Kiwi, only Sumaya is happy, I think, at this point.
Oh yes, is overjoyed.
Yeah.
But anyway, you guys are amazing. Much love. We'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.